Today we're doing a top 5 developers, and this one's a little tough for me. There's a lot of great ones, especially new ones rising up. Some had a lot of big hits, but major failed ones. And then there's a few who are just, in my opinion, untouchable. And there's very few. And I'm about to do it right now. The top 5 developers, do not get that confused with the top 5 publishers. A lot of publishing houses published your favorite games, but we're talking about the developers, the people who actually sat down and started creating the game itself. So let's go. Number 5 is definitely Monolith Games. I hope I'm saying it right. But besides, for me, bringing the best game of the year this year, they've always, in my opinion, been a very creative and polished studio. With hits like Condemned and Fear added with older hits like Alien vs. Predator 2, it's easy to see why this company remains one of my favorite ever. They always make sure their games have tight controls and excellent atmosphere. A few slips here and there and not so great games like Condemned 2 and Fear 2, but still solid games, and it can't stop this powerhouse developer from returning to now creating one of the best action adventure games I played in the last 5 years. Number 4 goes to Sucker Punch. Now, some of you know I'm kind of upset about Second Sons. It didn't live up to Infamous 2 for me. That's really because Infamous 2 remains top 5 games of last generation, bar none. I don't care what anybody says. It was a well-crafted, fun adventure that just lacked a few things for the new one, though. Still, Sucker Punch does one thing right, and that's making a damn good, memorable time with the story itself, or at least the adventure. From Sly to Infamous, Sucker Punch has created some of the best characters and the most memorable, far past putting the controller down. So that's why I'm adding it to the list here, because they just have such bright and fun adventure and characters. Internal Ubisoft team. Ubisoft is a big publisher, and they create they publish some really shitty games, like a lot of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, for example, and a bunch of other shit. But when it comes to their in-house developers, they're one of the best. From the Assassin's Creed team to the Splinter Cell team to the Rainbow Six team, it is clear why Ubisoft remains one of the most sought-out companies when it comes to games every year. They create these rich worlds, they begin trends, and they improve upon every release most of the time. And let's be honest, there's so much shit to do in the majority of their games. So Ubisoft remains one of the most consistent and on most of their releases when it comes to the actual games that they developed themselves. Number 2 is definitely BioWare. Whether you hate them now, it doesn't really matter. These guys create classics. You can't argue that KOTOR or Baldur's Gate aren't in the Hall of Fame for fantastic, well-made RPGs. Forget about Western RPGs, but just RPGs in general. Let's add in the fact that they write stories that people truly care about. I can't even tell you how many times I played Mass Effect 1, 2, and even 3, and it gotta be at least 6 or 7 times. Not a lot of games do that for me. With that, and also the impressive showing of Dragon Age Inquisition, I expect the Kings to return to their throne.
Looking forward to the action.
Number 1 is definitely going to be Naughty Dog. It's not hard to see why these guys are number 1 for me. They created Crash, a belovable, crazy bandicoot that jumped on shit. They built the Jak and Daxter series, a fun adventure with good characters, and then they Improved upon that with Jak 2 and 3, making a darker, more mature story, yet still remaining fun and charming. Then comes Uncharted 1 to 3, which are fantastic throwbacks to Indiana Jones and well-made gameplay mixed with some of the best, set pieces ever in the business. A story that's also interesting and fun at the same time. Then they came out with their masterpiece, which is hard to even say because all their other games have been very close or, to a lot of people, already masterpiece, but Last of Us. This game was not only provided one of the best stories in gaming, but the well-balanced gameplay made you think every time you entered an area. To top it off, it created an online that was so well made, it easily pushed into the favorite online from last generation for me. Now, I gotta say, Ubisoft deserves the #1 spot. And of course, not everybody's gonna come here, but they have just, in my opinion, keep throwing out hits after hits after hits, not missing a beat, and they deserve this spot. I did not do honorable mentions, but there's obviously a lot of companies that I hold in very high regard, such as Platinum Games and many other. Now, a lot of people listening to this list are like, well, all you named were Western. Well, I can't deny that I have a love for Western games, but as you know, as a huge Japanese RPG fan and Japanese games in general, I do love a lot. But these top 5 studios, every time I hear they're creating a game, I stick to it and I'm glued and I'm ready to play those games when they release, more so than any other company. So these guys, in my opinion, deserve the spot for the top 5 developers in the business. List your top 5 developers. I'm sure a lot of you will mention Konami or Platinum Games, like I mentioned before. Some of you might even, for some reason, mention Capcom. You must be off your fucking rocker, but go for it. So name your top 5 developers, and please keep in mind we're talking about developer here and not producers or any of that shit. Developers, the guys who created, the teams that created the games, not the guys that put the little logo EA on it or Activision or any of that shit. Thank you guys. Everybody have a wonderful day. List your top 5 developers or at least top 3 below in the comments.